Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the channel. Leo here. My name is Leo, for those of you who don't know, and I will be your humble host today. I am out today in eastern Kentucky, a little place just on the side of the road called Pounding Mill Road. And believe it or not, I am standing right now. I am standing right in the middle of a cemetery. Believe it or not. It looks like a road, and it is a road, but it's also a cemetery right about there, or was anyway. As usual, we have an unusual story for you guys today, which is pretty much normal, right? But anyway, I'm here there's a couple houses here, Quonset huts, that have been turned into houses. There's one, and there's one right over there. I would imagine they probably, if you insulate them, I would imagine they probably do just about as well as anything else, just guessing. But anyway, we are here, like I said, to tell you guys a story. Such a beautiful place, you know. We just got our first heavy freeze night before last. Had snow yesterday, but it's all gone now. But anyway, let me get off the road here, let some cars go by as needed, and I'll just stay over here out of the way. We'll let him go. But this story here comes to us from a friend of the channel named Brandon Wolford. Now, when Brandon's grandfather, I'm just going to get right into this, okay? When Brandon's grandfather, Fred Wolford Jr., was just 7 years old, he was at the home of his grandmother, Mariah Charles Wolford, here on Pounding Mill Road. Now, Mariah was known to everyone as Shug or Aunt Shug, short for Sugar, a name that suited her gentle nature to a T. Fred's father, Fred Sr., had just returned from a hunting trip. He set his shotgun in the corner like so many did after a long day of hunting. Curious and unaware of the danger, little Fred Jr. picked up the gun. Mariah saw him and immediately asked, "Is that gun loaded?" But before he could even answer her question, the gun went off, killing Mariah instantly. The newspaper accounts from that day confirmed the tragedy in painful detail. Both papers, one headlined, "Freeburn Woman is accidentally shot and killed," and another reading, "Freeburn Woman killed as grandson 7 toys with gun." They reported that Mrs. Green Wolford, about 60 years old, was fatally wounded Friday afternoon in Freeburn, Kentucky. Death was instantaneous. The newspapers described her as a highly respected citizen of that place. The second article added that Mariah was well known in the Peter Creek area. Family members said that Fred Sr. was so grief-stricken that he actually lost control of himself for a moment. In shock, he picked up his own 7-year-old son and started toward the river, saying that he was going to drown him. Family rushed in to stop him, and they did. Everyone knew that it wasn't true hatred in his heart, it was heartbreak, and that he wouldn't have truly hurt his own child. But in that brief instant, the grief and guilt that he must have felt had nearly consumed him. The family was poor, but Mariah's side of the family, the Charles family, was somewhat wealthy. Her brother, Walter Charles, despite having disapproved of her marriage to Green Wolford, paid for her funeral and a beautiful headstone, making sure that his sister was buried with dignity. Green and Mariah had several children, including a son named Jesse, whose story is every bit as tragic as theirs. Jesse was only 13 years old when he was killed in a coal mining accident. He had been working alongside his father at the old Grapevine mines across the river from Pounding Mill over there on the West Virginia side. A trap door caught him, and he was trapped underneath it. When the family finally freed his body and laid him on a horse and buggy to take him home, neighbors said that from the Delorme railroad tracks across the river in Pounding Mill, Mariah could be heard screaming, with her husband's horrified screams echoing back across the river. Both Green and Mariah were never the same after losing their boy. They bought Jesse a fine headstone, and his grave was carefully tended as long as they lived. The Green Wolford property once covered most of Pounding Mill Road here on the Freeburn side, but through the years they sold off parcels here and there. After Jesse's death, they began a family cemetery between the river and the horse trail that cut through Pounding Mill, this old road right here. Jesse was buried here first. He was later joined by his 7-year-old niece, Georgia Wolford, who died of measles in 1917. The last known burial there was Fred Sr. In 1946, a fence once surrounded this small cemetery, but over time, as the road widened, it was repeatedly knocked down. Eventually, traffic grew so heavy that vehicles were literally driving over Fred Sr.'s grave right here. Disturbed by this, Sarah, his wife and Brandon's grandmother, had his remains exhumed in 1973 and moved to the Buskirk Cemetery. Then came the flood of 1977. County equipment moved through to clear the debris and accidentally bulldozed over the cemetery, headstones and all, covering everything that was left under dirt and mud. Family assumed that the graves had all washed away, but many years later, Brandon began researching his family genealogy and discovered the shocking truth. The graves were still there, just beneath the newly widened road. In 2017, a family friend and Pounding Mill local named Jim Mayhorn offered his heavy equipment to help exhume the bodies and move Brandon's family to their new final resting place, out of the road and well away from floodwaters. Marshall West of the West Funeral Home in Phelps volunteered his time and expertise to oversee the delicate work. During the first excavation along this road, they uncovered 2 graves, those of Green and Mariah. Mariah's grave was unmistakable. Her casket was still there, along with a skull that had a hole in it from a gunshot wound. The tragic proof of that long ago accident. Green was buried right beside her, just like the family had always said. In 2018, they returned, this time with county permission to dig up this road. That is when they finally discovered little Jesse's remains. Brandon had all three, Green, Mariah, and Jesse, reinterred together in one mass grave at the family cemetery in Buskirk, Kentucky. Now I brought y'all down here first to show you this little place. Now Pounding Mill Road, like I said, this was at one time, this was a horse trail. Very skinny, very narrow, very rocky, very rough. It's for horses. It's not even really for buggies at this point. It's for horses. It's how you got to get to town, you know. That's how you went. Back in the day, you see, when you lived this far out, you didn't go to the store for everyday things. You hunted for your food. You went up into the mountains. You hunted for your food. You caught fish from the river. The only time you went to the store was to pick up salt, sugar, coffee, things like that. And that would pretty much be the only time that you would leave your area. So you can imagine how narrow this little road is. And I'm going to show it to you on the way back up. I'm going to show you what this little Pounding Mill. Now this is modern. I'll be showing you the modern version with asphalt. Now you're going to have to imagine what this was like back in the day, as steep and as curvy and windy and narrow as it is now. You can imagine it being 1,000 times worse before it was paved. But from as near as I can tell, from what we found, the graveyard would have been pretty much right in the center of your screen right now. It went on that side, the road did, and the small graveyard on this side. And you just had a narrow horse trail. And people who went by here rode by those graves every day, and they knew where they were at. But I can remember my mom telling me this story one time about how when she was little, my grandfather had to go to Pikeville, Kentucky for something. It may have been census. I don't remember. It's been decades since she told me the story. But I can remember her saying that it was a 2-day trip through the mountains. And the first thing I asked her, that's the first thing came to mind, was where was he sleeping at night? If it's a 2-day trip, there's a night in between. Was that little dinky road that goes to Pikeville, Kentucky, which we don't even use anymore? We have a highway now, 119. Takes about 30 minutes. You can get from Williamson to Pikeville now. Took him 2 days. What did he do? I mean, you know, at nighttime, how was that done? Was there some sort of little inn back up on that mountain or something? No, there was no inn. The way you did it, you got on your horse and you rode until dark. When it got so dark that you could no longer see, you got your bedroll and you made you a bed on the ground somewhere, and you slept right there. And that was how you got from point A to point B. It was not a 30-minute drive in your car like it is now. It was a 2-day trip. But this right here, I just wanted to show you this, bring you guys out here and tell you this story. And we'll be heading over to the mass grave right here just in a few minutes. But I just kind of wanted to show you guys Pounding Mill Road and where this graveyard actually was, and how unusual, you know, the situation is. I mean, we've ran across situations where graveyards have train tunnels underneath them and been bulldozed by gas companies and all sorts of stuff. Pretty much intentional, really. This one here appears to have been an accident that caused the family to get lost for so many years. But thanks to Brandon's diligent work, something that we can, you know, kind of get behind and appreciate, because we do that sort of thing every day, and it's not as easy as it seems. You know, going back through genealogy, through old newspaper records, military whatever you can find. Just any little scrap to give you one little detail that you can maybe use to find the next little detail. But like I said, we'll be heading out here in a second, and I'm going to head back up Pounding Mill Road across the old horse path that they would have taken to get anywhere, and show you guys what it looks like today. And you can imagine what it kind of looked like probably back in the day when it was just a horse path. And we'll be heading out, like I said, to the mass grave. They are on Buskirk, Kentucky, across the river from Matewan, West Virginia. Not far. Some of you may remember Sid Hatfield, Matewan Massacre. They are buried. This mass grave is probably somewhere around 100 yards from where he's buried. Now, hang on, we'll let this one go. He's got a muffler. Or don't have a muffler. Got something dragging too. But anyway, guys, we'll head on out here and head on up and tell you guys the rest of the story when we get there. Okay, pulling out. Now right about here would have been the graveyard, pretty much exactly where I'm parked. And that over there would have been the horse trail that you walked in the cemetery, about right here. That's wild, isn't it? You know, you think for all those years, how many people drove their cars directly over top of the graves and had no clue that they were driving right over top of graves. But I just want to show you some of this going up. And like I said, you can imagine, I'm sure y'all can imagine what this used to look like. Little wide spots here and there. You've got about a 10-foot drop off on that side down into the creek. Got little wide spots here and there where people pull off to let someone else pass. And I can remember using this little road many times over the years, even when I was a little kid, but had no idea the history behind this little bitty road right here. But now this is the other side. It's more of the Blackberry side. Little community down here. Pretty little place though. Pretty little houses. Just across the river from Matewan, West Virginia. That cemetery right over there is where Sid Hatfield, Mayor Testerman, and several others from the massacre and the events, the mine wars, all that sort of stuff. There's several historical characters right over there. But if y'all noticed the tower, I don't know if y'all noticed the cell phone tower. I'm sure your towns, most of them probably have cell service. This is Matewan's first real tower. There was a couple little smaller ones on buildings, but until this one just went up, last month? That went online last month, I think. or maybe in this month, the Town of Mate one had, at best, we'll say spotty cell service. But now that the new one's up, you know, the town has finally joined the rest of civilization in having cell service widespread all over the town. I thought that was interesting. You know, it's almost 2026, and you know, the little Town of Mate one is just now getting reliable cell service. I thought that was interesting, that you can see where there used to be a business there and there's an old boat there, a speedboat. But we're not here for any of those. What we're here for is right here on this little hillside, and that grave right there. Brother Jesse Wolford, born November 14th, 1896, and died May 31st in 1910. Now let me get over here out of my own way so you can actually see. And you can see the hillside, you know, the graveyard here. This is another graveyard. A lot of Wolfords in here as well. A couple of them. Right there's Wolfords, as a matter of fact. But this right here, this little plot right here, is the one that we came for today. But they are all here, resting together once again. Today, we'll be visiting the graves where they were excavated and the mass grave that became their final resting place. Standing here today, it's impossible not to feel the weight of what this family endured. You can almost hear the echoes of the heartbreak that time really couldn't wash away. Mariah Shug Wolford, her husband Green, and their young son Jesse all lie here together now. A family reunited after nearly a century of sorrow, loss, and silence. It's a quiet reminder that behind every family's tragedy, there's a story of love that really never dies. The Wolford family's story, once buried under a road, now lives in the hearts of those who remember them. And now that we've brought you all out here, their story lives on in every one of you too now. After it's all said and done, I guess the thing that really matters is that they are all here together. And hopefully we'll be here together in peace, undisturbed, for eternity. Rest well, Wolford family. And Brandon, thank you very much, man, for all the information and the help. He's actually helped us out with a couple other stories with some information as well. Brandon, he's a pretty good little researcher on his own. Obviously. He did wonders, didn't he? Well, guys, I guess that ends our little story for today. And it's such a pretty day. It's a little bit chilly, but it's a beautiful day. It's not too bad. It's a really good day to come out here and visit this family and bring you guys along for the ride. Show you these places, tell you these amazing stories. It is, I'll be honest, it is a little bit rewarding in its own way. It is. You know, a lot of things you're paid in monetary, and a lot of things you're paid in other ways. And a lot of what we do is the other. But that's okay. We're doing the good deed, we're fighting the good fight. That's what matters. Alright guys, we will see y'all next time. Y'all have a really good day. And until the next episode, this is Leo with the Hillbilly Files. Hillbillies out.